quorum since Brent graced us with his presence. I don't see any public, but I will call for public comments. All right, seeing no public, we will move on. Approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any additions or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the previous meeting.
Motion from Bill, is there a second?
A second.
Second from Mary. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All right, motion passes. We will go to item number 5, Criminal Justice Coordinator update. Go ahead, Janelle.
So a couple of things. I've been really busy, which is a good thing. I actually have started my department update for the December meeting. And so just looking at all of these meetings, I've been really busy. I've met with a lot of people, continue to really be just impressed with people's excitement and willingness to work together. A couple of key things though that I wanted to provide update on. So Ryan has mentioned to me a number of times about Ruben doing some plans for a bathroom remodel. And I guess I wanted to at least bring it up here because to me when I hear that, I hear money. And I don't know that that has been discussed or thought through in terms of what the dollar cost for something like that was gonna be.
He had, when we took Ryan on the tour of the office space, I do recall the committee had kind of commissioned Sheriff Becca and I to talk with Ryan. We gave him a tour, and I do recall, maybe you can help me, Sheriff.
Yeah.
I believe there was some discussion about in that hallway having access to a single bathroom that they would only use, and then also a place like almost like a countertop coming off the wall. And I don't know, did Ruben do either of those?
Yeah, he did. He made one bathroom unisex, and then hearing from the drug court business meeting.
Can't hardly hear it.
Challenge or something.
How do you increase the volume?
And
Hold on one second, Sean. Did you get the bill item was on? All right, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, he's on, but he should mute.
but I believe, from what I understood, I don't know if Ryan mentioned it to you, that handicap bathroom just outside the sheriff's department can be utilized for the drug testing or the sampling. I didn't hear anything about remodeling.
Yeah, so he walked me around today and showed me, so right when you're coming into kind of that hallway by the sheriff's department, you have a men's and a women's restroom, and then you have another men's restroom. So apparently there have been conversations, I'm assuming between Ryan and Ruben, about remodeling that bathroom and turning it in, like taking down stalls, moving the door, and turning it into more of a family bathroom, so that you can go in and lock it so people can't come in while you're in there. Again, when I hear stuff like that, I hear dollars. So then he also showed me the bathroom in the hallway by your kitchen, in the jail side. And he said that bathroom was offered to be used, and that there was some concern by members of the drug court team about the size of that and people being uncomfortable with it. And so, again, I just want to make sure that I'm bringing it up before some remodel is taking place and dollars are being spent that no one knows who's paying for.
So I'm a little confused. Where is this bathroom again?
Which one?
The one that Ryan wants to remodel, like you see doors.
Right next to the water fountain. So when you're coming up the stairs from here.
So instead of the bathroom in the jail that we had originally discussed, he's wanting that bathroom to be remodeled for drug court.
Yes.
Okay, now I understand. I just wanted to make sure I was grasping. I guess my first question is, whose budget is it coming
Well,
out of?
right,
Because if it's coming out of Ruben's budget, I think in theory Ruben could approve it, or his committee could approve it. If it's not coming out of his budget, then I think.
that was my question.
Then I think it's really, a discussion with probably judicial and legislative, whether or not it's even in your budget. Go ahead, Brent.
I think it's an interesting thought, because my thought is if I wanted something remodeled and I just talked to Ruben about it and he was gonna do it, without there being any discussion, I would think there'd be a whole bunch of people that would be upset with me. But that's me, and perhaps it's different, but so we've got a contracted employee that is basically working with our maintenance facilities manager to do something that I had never heard about before, which is a little bit concerning. And it sounds like the sheriff hasn't heard about it either.
Heard about it through the, not a remodeling, but just utilizing that bathroom for, drug testing.
Yeah, which I think is fine, but I mean, a remodel seems just
Yeah, I don't do
strange. I think maybe we ought to have Ruben
Right.
kind of talk us through it and see what's, maybe Ryan is not communicating the best, maybe there's something else going on there. Before,
And that would be fine to have, Ruben come.
well, I could go walk down and ask him right now.
If you want to do
So
that, that's fine.
at least then we know what's going on.
That's fine.
Actually, probably better if Shannon, because I don't have my badge, I can't get back there.
I think Bill should do it, because he'll probably
You
call
get your
you.
badge. Then if his phone goes off again, we won't have to worry about disrupting the meeting.
Lance, have you heard anything about this as administrative coordinator? Has any of this come to you?
And, well, not directly as to what they were doing, but it's been discussed in drug court as to what the needs were to provide, access, to a bathroom to do the drug testing, but nothing specific as to, a dollar amount. They talked about which bathroom would be most conducive for use for that purpose, as that's a bathroom that rarely gets used there. That was a question asked. And I don't know what they actually did in there. It might have been nothing more than change the way a lock works or something. I honestly don't know, but it had been bantied about in drug court. No one had given permission for anybody to necessarily do anything, but it was discussed.
I guess my question, the bathroom in the jail in that hallway was actually built to or given
Change
over.
the unisex, if I
Yeah.
remember, and then a shelf put up for samples.
So really what I'm hearing is that's not adequate, and so they now want to have this other bathroom that's actually in the hallway.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanna make sure. I think personally, I would feel that a committee almost, if we're it's kind of, if the money's in the budget, I don't think committees necessarily need to get involved, but
Right.
I agree, if it's not in the budget, or, there's definitely some questions that I think having the committee or a committee
Yeah.
discuss it is important, so hopefully Ruben can give us.
And that's kind of so when Ryan told me about it today and showed me the different spaces and talked about the things that, Ruben had identified as potential remodels that could happen, that was my first, I said, okay, who's paying for it?
There's nobody around.
They're all busy fixing, remodeling the bathroom.
No, they're doing stuff they're doing for us right now.
Alright, well, let's do this, we can always have Ruben come to a future meeting to discuss this. And maybe between us, we can also find out more information from Ruben as to what he was thinking, and also give an update to the committee at a future point if the committee is okay with that.
And Mr. Chair, you should probably check with your Property Information Technology Committee, because that's your property committee now.
Yeah, I agree.
And they may have that in their budget. Thanks.
Yeah, yep, nope, that's a good point, and I agree. Alright, any objection? Go ahead.
Well, my only question is, as we deal with, a significant budget issue here in the county, and, I think it was clearly laid out, we have to prioritize, what is a wish list and what is a necessity. I mean, we're all trying to find ways to cut back and save money, and then all of a sudden, you know, what kind of message are we sending to employees as we say, hey, you guys gotta hold off for raises, but all of a sudden we're gonna give the drug court, you know, a bunch of money on a bathroom. I mean,
And after seeing the spaces today, I mean, sure, the bathroom in the hallway is small. I mean, it's a small space, but I do think that there are also pros to that space, right? On the weekends, drug court participants come in that door anyways. So having the bathroom in the hallway would require staff to bring each and every person individually into the building and into that bathroom, whereas that's not necessarily the case there. So I think there's pros and cons, but.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, we will move on, and I'll just probably bring this back to at a future meeting. Discussion on a SWOT assessment.
Did you have any more? Was that the only thing?
I'm sorry, is there anything else?
That's okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was able to meet with Cindy in the clerk's office, and so she's working on getting some data for me on our failure to appears and also operating after revocations. She did pull some initial data on failure to appears, and I was excited to learn that the text reminder system is something that's still in place that we're utilizing. I think there's room for some real minor changes to potentially be made so that we can increase the use of that. Cindy actually shared with me, she was quite surprised that thus far this year, so from January 1 to the 10th, we've had 242 no-shows, 106 people signed up for the text reminders, and of the people who signed up for them, there was 0% that resulted in a failure to appear. So she shared that she was actually quite surprised, and I think that supports what research tells us about reminder calls. And then, yeah, she's gonna get me some data on operating after rev numbers as well. That's all.
Have you had any discussion with judges at all?
I met with Judge Brazo.
Brazo.
Oh, okay. That's the first time I've said it right, so I keep second guessing myself. I briefly met with Judge Wolf. We are scheduled to meet next week. I've not had a chance to connect with Judge Potter yet.
Those meetings went well?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
the operating after rev, you know, is something you and I had talked about when we met, and it's something that I thought when we went through the interview process that you had brought up too, and it was something that I thought was could help people. It could help a lot of people. I mean, it could help our jail. It could help folks that are getting continuously pulled over, that are trying to get to work, get them so they can maintain their employment and not have to deal with these fines. But I mean, nobody wants to deal with those folks. I don't think the sheriff's department wants to deal with them. I don't think the judges want to see those cases come before them. So you're getting the initial data to see how many cases there are and repeat offenders and those types of things.
Yes.
So that's something to me at this point that I'd be very interested to see, you know, move forward. If there's something that can be done. I'd be curious for Sean's take on it.
Well, I think, you know, the big picture we talked about, and you touched on, with the failure to appear forfeiture warrants. The more research that the sheriff's department has done, the more passionate we become on, you know, trying to move a different direction, because there's so many different, reasons to move forward in that direction. Number one, jail bed space. The data that we collected, you're talking 10 bed spaces a day. Now, do the math. You know, if you look at $36 a day that we pay, it's astonishing how much money we're paying. Now, that's not just the sheriff's department or Wood County, that's all municipal warrants, forfeitures that are taking that's including those 10 bed spaces a day. be some advantages to continue to have the failure to pay warrants on collecting. But when there's another mechanism out there that's been available for a long time, it just doesn't make much sense to me. And I've been in discussions with other municipalities. I think they'd like the opportunity, like our court counsel, who's a judge for Wisconsin Rapids, the opportunity to have the availability to issue a warrant, because the county sheriff's department collects it for them, or their collection agents, and we don't get anything for it. Grand Rapids is like that. Granted, there might be a $10 jail fee, assigned to a fine, but that doesn't come close to our costs, all right? And again, I go back to jail bed space, low risk offenders, that there's another mechanism out there because the forfeiture, the fine is the penalty, bottom line. Again, there's been a lot of research that we have done. I know the clerk's office has done a lot of research probably to justify at least moving in the direction that they would like to continue. And maybe there's an opportunity to compromise. And I'm willing to look at that. We've got a meeting coming up. I think it was just scheduled for next week on the 18th. So, that's where the passion for, our agency, and it fits with OER. That's part of it, but it's more of a bigger, in my opinion, concern for what I'm seeing. But that clearly fits, and I was glad that you took the opportunity to come to the other meeting. Got canceled, and I appreciate the information that you told me about what Sauk County was doing. Like I said, I'll go back to the research, which is a lot of it that we've done in the clerk's office has done a lot too, and I appreciate that. But we're like one of the only counties in the area that do this, and this I think would be a great opportunity to connect all of us to work together to get to that goal of using collections and bottom line, free up bed space, and that's a significant savings to the county. You wouldn't think 10 bed space is, but it's a lot if you look at what we do. So, no, I was very happy that we got to have that discussion and hear your experience with it, and really happy you got the opportunity to talk to Cindy, and we'll have that discussion coming up with the judges and go from there.
Right.
Well, I think, what the sheriff talks about is interesting to me, and that is because we're not collecting from these folks, right? At a certain point, we're letting them sit off fines. So what we're saying is, we're gonna spend more money to let you sit off your fine, which I don't know how, in a true business model, it makes no sense. I mean, you would be bankrupt in no time. I mean, it would be essentially, saying, here, you're selling someone something and they can't make the payments, and then you say, well, if you go and just do this for a few days, then it's paid off and you're free. It doesn't make any sense. And I understand consequences, and sometimes having some leverage over folks can help, but the folks that plan on just sitting these fines off, that's, I can't tell you how many times I've sat in intake court before where people are just, can I just sit it off? Because then they don't have to worry about a warrant anymore. They can just sit in the jail for a month or 20 days or whatever it is, and sit those fines off, and then that anxiety and stress that they have is gone until they get pulled over again and get another fine. But so I'd be curious to know what municipalities, or other than in Wood County, are doing this, because you said $36 a day to house that person, and then essentially we got to eat that, and then the fines that we're not collecting. Don't forget, that's lost revenue as well. That's gone.
No, probably the other agencies or municipalities, Wisconsin Rapids, and Peter will be the one to tell you that they're probably the biggest chunk of those 10 days. And we're collecting a lot of money for the city of Wisconsin Rapids, well over $100,000. And we're not charging them for it. If you look at other sheriff's department throughout the state, Marathon County, for example, through our research, all the municipalities within Marathon County go to the collections opportunity or avenue, and I think one municipality continues to utilize the warrants and utilizes their bed space, but they're charged because continue to go the route that we are, it'd be our intention to bring to the county board that any type of municipality that wants to use our jail to house people, we charge them. And I think they realize that, but it's not the norm. The norm is the collections route, and that came through a lot of research that, that our staff did to come to that realization, and it's like, why? And I'm sure there'll be some good, maybe reasons why, and that's where I think that there could be some compromises out there, whether it's through our clerk's office or other municipalities that still continue to utilize warrants. All right, is there a dollar amount threshold? So I'm not picking on you, Brent, but I like to. You continue to get these citations. So you're really not, you don't care. All right, I keep writing you a ticket, and I'd like to do that, every other day or every day, but, but you're like, okay, crinkle them up and throw them in the back of the seat. And I'm like, okay, send it to collections. I'm not working. I don't intend on working. I just am going to do whatever. All right, if there's a dollar amount threshold out there that we can look at, say, it's over, I'm just throwing it out, $1,000. All right, something, maybe that might be something we look at to say, all right, you're not getting in. All right, your license has been suspended. You're not making the effort to better yourself. You're just, you're continuing to rack up the citations. Or maybe a notified first, which is a forfeiture, but drunk driving is a serious thing. Maybe that's something that if you don't pay, or if somebody doesn't pay notified, right, then maybe we can use a warrant there. That's where I really look at the opportunity of, all right, compromise. And I talked to the police chiefs, two of them, Mel Peterson and Erwin Blevins, about this. I think they still like the opportunity of a warrant, not just for the collections end of it, but the frustration of it with the example that I brought up. If you have people that continue not to pay and they won't pay, they won't work, so the collection system won't be able to trip their taxes, then what other avenues do we have? And some of that's spelled out in a report that the judges got that say that there might be some compromise there, but overall the recommendation is to step away from putting these types of low-risk offenders in our jail. I don't mean to throw a dollar amount on an individual in our jail, but I'm sorry, since I've been in this position, there's a big cost to one person in jail. And if there's other ways we can look at helping them and getting the forfeiture amount, it just makes sense to me.
In thinking about this, and over the last 7 or 8 years that I've been the director of the child support office, we've reduced incarceration, and we've done it because it used to be you owe a $1,500 purge, you pay $1,500 or you sit. And what we thought was, heck, if we get someone to pay half that purge and not have them sit in the jail, so take half the money that would be owed under that commitment order, and then release them and then work with them again and trying to get payments, we're better off because we're not holding jail space. This person's out and has the ability maybe to find employment or pay their bills. Has there been thought as far as the collection deputy up there saying, I'll tell you what, we can work this out. You owe $800, but if you can bring us $400 in a week, we'll expunge some of that. I mean, I don't know if that's been a concept, but they might be able to get their aunt or uncle or girlfriend or boyfriend. And what I found is that moms and new boyfriends or new girlfriends are more than the people that are most willing to pay to keep their, significant other or child out of jail. And so look at the money. Maybe we get $400 that we wouldn't have gotten before, and we keep your jail space open, and that collection deputy stays pretty dang busy. It's negotiation, and I mean that's what you do in the business world all the time. You negotiate, and banks write things off to credit card companies, and maybe that's something we ought to consider as far as our collections.
Yeah, and two more things to bring up on that, and we talked about it. I think this is a good piece to keep out there, the community service opportunity that's out there. Not only having people work for the county under emergency government, but once things open up a little bit more from COVID, connecting with the Chamber of Commerce is out there, either Marshfield, Wisconsin Rapids, that can say, hey, we've got people that are going to be working off fines. All right, what opportunities are out there? Is it you know, working at a Raptors game, and I'm just throwing it out there, you know, where people can get out and work off the fines, and then you're seeing some benefit to, you know, the community, you know, so you have that out there as well, which I think is a great opportunity as, you know, you move forward, is connecting with those folks, because I think that that would be another great opportunity for us. And then the other cost factor we have to look at too is dispatch. You know, Brent, I know it's appreciative, you know, you're billed for any warrants that you send up to dispatch, correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, now you look at the time that a dispatcher has invested in entering warrants, and there are lots of them, and they're still being entered up there right now, and we don't even can act on them right now. You know, so you got, the clock starts ticking when that failure to appear forfeiture warrant starts, you know, with the third floor going down to dispatch. It takes about a half hour to 45 minutes for a dispatcher to enter the system. Then 3 months later, they have to validate it, and then every year that warrant has to be validated. So you look at the time that that dispatcher has to deal with this type of warrant. Okay, you're pulling away from answering phones. You know, so there's a lot of other, it's not just the sheriff's department or the law enforcement officers' time when they pull over, like Brent, and now they're dealing with, you know, there's warrants out there for $10. Does that make any sense? So I should arrest, I will say, I'll pick on Adam this time. I should arrest Adam for forgetting to pay his ticket, and I pull him
It's never
over,
happened.
then I put you in handcuffs for $10? No, it's not, I'm gonna stop.
And I think, I mean, the financial side of it is always something that we need to be, you know, cognizant of, but there's also the human side of it, and so this is anecdotal, but there is research that, I mean, supports the fact that every single time we incarcerate someone, even if they're booked and released, so even if they never see the inside of a jail cell, it increases the likelihood that they will end up there again. The other thing is that, again, while anecdotal, the majority of these people aren't necessarily paying, you know, not paying their fines because they don't want to. And so, I mean, take that in context, right? Many of these people don't have the capacity. Now, do they have probably some opportunity to change that? Yes, that's not what I'm talking about. But so, unintentionally, what we're also doing is creating a system that criminalizes poverty. And so, I mean, that's something that we also need to think about and start to work on shifting from.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, listening to this and thinking about it a little bit more, what are we doing to our officers? I mean, you know, we know the police, you know, have been dealing with a lot of things over the course of the last 6-8 months, and now we're asking them to arrest people because they can't pay a fine. I mean, what is that image like for an officer to have to take someone into custody because someone couldn't simply pay a fine? And again, we talk about dispatch having to take time from the phone to enter warrants. What about officers having to arrest somebody for even $100 when they could be going to, you know, a domestic dispute where maybe if they get there 2 minutes earlier, that's the difference between, you know, an escalated incident that they could have prevented. I just think there's a lot there.
Do you have data on, like, for example, last year, how many failure to pay warrants?
Yeah, I believe that was provided at the last meeting. I mean, there's been a lot of research, you know, on both ends of, you know, between the sheriff's department and clerk's office on this, which is, you know, frustrating at some level, because when you look at, you know, other, or just the facts, I mean, I think we waste a lot of time. But, you know, this is up to the judges, and I'll revert back to our 3 judges in March. Did us a huge, the county, huge favor by, you know, modifying and putting a court order to all the law enforcement agencies out there on what will come to jail and what won't. And I know that was frustrating initially for some of the law enforcement agencies, including ours, you know, because it was a abrupt change. But now working through it, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, that they implemented that make sense. And this is one big one, you know, so it really is gonna revolve around how the judges feel moving forward, you know, with this. And that's what the meeting coming up will, you know, that'll be a big discussion. But there's a lot of research done, by a lot of people that, again, am I saying it's a waste of time? No, but it's, you know, it just kind of, in my opinion, bolsters the direction that we should go. But again, the first part of this is our judges, and are they going to be willing or wanting to move forward with a change with this? If they don't, then my opinion, we come back to, you know, working with Janelle and putting some things together on, okay, how are we going to make up for it? You know, how are we going to make up for the loss of, you know, jail bed space, and, you know, are we going to charge the municipalities for, you know, a booking fee, you know, or a fee that if a deputy pulls somebody over and that person has a municipal warrant, what are we going to do with that? Are we going to send, all right, come over and get, pay Rapids, come over and get this person down in the county? Or even more so, that needs to be discussed, what about transportation fees and assessments? If somebody gets picked up on either one of our failure to pay forfeitures or a municipality in Madison, we're going to get them. And look at that cost. You know, we try to as much as possible use part-time people to do that, because it's not as much of a cost, still a cost, but we still have full-time people do that job as well. And, you know, there's a significant cost there. So like a $200 fine down in getting picked up in Madison on a forfeiture, I don't know how the county makes money off of it. You know, if the person can't bond themselves out, all right, we gotta go get them. We got a time limit on when we have to get them. And that's all part of the discussion here on the cost associated with it. So there's been a lot of research that we all have done on it, and it'd be nice to have a decision made, because there's still warrants being entered, even under the circumstances right now, which kind of bothers me, because you're still piling up all of this work on our dispatch system, and then that information is still being, you know, disclosed on traffic stops, like, oh, this individual's got a warrant, can't serve them. You know, that continues to build, and a decision could have been made, you know, months ago to say, hey, wait a minute, we see that this is something that we should probably change. We've already done it. You know, but anyway, you know, getting back to our judges, they really, really helped us out, you know, a lot. And I think we're gonna start with them. I know they're very busy with COVID and trying to make modifications and changes to, you know, holding a trial or something, but that's where we'll start with, and then maybe bring it back to the table. But I think it's a pretty big discussion. You'll probably hear other people argue with me. You know, it's just, we've become, as an organization, become quite passionate about it, because we're seeing the effects at many different levels.
So to kind of sum this up, so if we're asked, well, what is the CJC doing? Would you say this is your number one priority? I know you're doing a lot of things.
Right.
It's
I would say it's one of I think it is, from my perspective, it is a simple change, and so I might get in trouble. You know, some people probably wouldn't like that I say that, but I feel like the structure is in place that would support the idea that this is a simple change that can be made to affect a large scale.
I go back to something you said earlier, and I'm probably not gonna say it exactly the same way, but I agree. I think to some degree we're penalizing people for being impoverished. I think a lot of cases it's not people who can afford it who aren't paying it. It's they truly can't afford it. And I think that's something that personally I think we need to change in our system. And I'm not just talking Wood County, I'm talking don't penalize someone for being less fortunate in a financial sense.
The big word now is return on investment, so I was just seeing what we're getting.
Sure. Yeah.
Anything else on this topic or any of the updates? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Lance.
after the county board meeting yesterday, the sheriff and I had this exact same conversation at length, and this is certainly something that could be addressed immediately through the, criminal justice task force, and then as long as, and Bill Clendenning's committee oversees all the players, this should be a simple fix, and I can't believe there's anybody who would object.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Bill, I was just gonna ask you, Bill, do you have any comments?
Actually, I had trouble getting on, and I've been on since about 2 minutes into the meeting, but the volume is so low. I tried both telephone and WebEx. I'm hearing Brent, can't hardly hear the sheriff at all. I can hear Bill Clendenning, so I'm thinking maybe it's the way the microphone picks up in the room. And Mr. Chairman, I can't hardly hear you at all.
All right, can you hear me now?
A little bit better, but it's kind of like you're in a barrel.
I'm surprised, why is he something, he's in a barrel?
Yeah, it's.
Mr. Adam, this is Lance. I hear you perfectly. Bill, do you have a phone and a computer on by any chance?
Yeah, because I'm trying to hear, and I can hear a little better on the phone.
That's where the echo's coming from when you speak, I believe. But I'm not having any problem hearing them, so I'm not exactly sure what might be going on with your iPad or your computer.
Yeah, I tried the iPad, and that's where I am now. The computer kept taking me to a November 4th seed meeting. And I triple checked where I was supposed to be. And, it's supposed to be November 11th, 2:30 and criminal justice, but this isn't working real good today.
I know what he's doing. You can't have the phone on and the iPad.
Okay, phone's off.
There, now we can hear you.
All right, we will just try to talk louder, Bill.
Yeah, I'm hearing you a little bit better, Adam. You're still on a barrel.
Okay, good.
Maybe something.
All right. I don't know why that is.
Address.
Okay. Anything
Thank
else? Yep. All right, seeing nothing else, let's go on to item 6 now. Discussion on the SWOT and that assessment, and I'll hand that over to Janelle.
So I sent out a SWOT assessment, wondering what people thought about that, if we wanted to try to kind of talk it through here and get a couple of ideas for each category, or if folks are working on those still.
I'll start. I think for time, maybe if we all spent some time and kind of gave you our feedback, that might be helpful. So you're not waiting on us, because I feel bad. I was planning to do mine, and it just sits in my inbox. And I'm going to go back and do it. So I guess my suggestion, I'm open to other thoughts from the committee, but maybe go over some of the questions with us, and then if we can take good notes, you'll have our information. What is the committee's thoughts? Brent and Sean?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get to it, to be honest with you. I'm probably not gonna get to any assignments if I get them. I've got a tough enough time just keeping my office functioning at this point, between people that, I think we've had somebody on quarantine, at least one person for the last 8 weeks, sometimes multiple folks, so, it's just.
And to be fair, a formal SWOT assessment may in fact be kind of a moot point at this time, because I've met with each of you individually and kind of done that on a smaller scale. So I'm also open to maybe what I can do is review all of my notes from our individual meetings and try to get an idea, put some things together. We can review it and then add to it.
That would be fine with me. Everyone else fine with that? Bill, did you hear that?
I'm only picking up about half of it, so you guys just go ahead.
All right. All right, anything else on the SWOT assessment?
Is Supervisor Hamilton on the phone?
No.
Oh.
No.
That
Right, so-
03, that's Lightnum. That's when I was on phone, but it shouldn't be showing up anymore because I
No,
went off.
it
the
went
phone.
off. Yeah, it went off. All right, seeing nothing else, we will move then to number 7, next step options. So we will bring back the conversation about the bathroom. In the meantime, what I will plan to do is have Janelle and I talk to Ruben, see where things are at. As Lance said, just even see from talking to Ruben if it's gone to his committee. But we will at the very least report back to this committee and let them know between Janelle and I what we have found, and possibly even have Ruben come here if that's beneficial to give further explanation. Anything else on the horizon that you see, Janelle, that we really need to be focusing on?
I had the opportunity to meet with Sarah today from Dunn County and talk through the structure that Dunn County uses, kind of that advisory committee. And so I do think that that is a good option for us moving forward. And I've talked to, many of the people that would potentially be involved in that. And so I guess I wanted to get everyone's feedback on whether there's going to be, so really there's two schools of thoughts, right? We can wait to really make any substantial changes until after the task force meets in December. Or we could start to kind of implement some of this, bringing people together beforehand. But what I don't want to happen is for the task force in any way to feel as though they're being pushed out or things like that. Because many of the people who have participated in the task force capacity are going to be the very people that in this structure we would draw upon for specialized work groups and things of that nature. And so I guess I'm kind of looking for feedback from you all.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you just said, not making them feel like they're being circumvented or anything like that. I think, and I also agree, I think a lot of those people are going to be the key players. So maybe waiting to have them meet, I see the benefit of that. Now, I've never been to a task force meeting, so I don't really know the players very well, but to me there's a lot of logic in what you just said. As far as I'm concerned, I really think, for lack of a better word, I think the sales pitch needs to be, we're taking a lot of the same people, we're just relaunching it with a new name and a more maybe energized vision of where it goes now that we have a coordinator. So I think I would agree with that. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, well, when they have the December meeting, a room, it's not called that, it's a room, 317. Number, no. But I think that's a little small for, especially with social distancing. I would hope their next one would be in a larger room, like over in, but I know the judges don't like to leave the building.
Well,
This room is bigger, isn't it?
yeah, otherwise why not use branch 3?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's available, that's.
And it's got microphones if you need them, they've got the whole setup, so I'd like to see it moved out of that room and so.
Logistically, schedules that, but I would, work with branch 3 and, try to utilize that room.
Which is a lot of people show up. And now more.
At the what?
Criminal Justice Task Force.
I went to one meeting and it wasn't that many people, but you were with me that time. I mean, they had that table and it
They
was.
save room for you and that's why.
Yeah, Yes, go ahead.
I mean, my thought is that essentially aren't we, you're just changing the name and really adding members, correct?
Yes.
And probably getting a more broad perspective to what is happening. I mean, you're adding people hopefully that are going to help the group accomplish more things.
And I think you make a great point, and that's, you said it better than I did. It's
We're not gonna
really-
force them, we're gonna see what they want,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Really, it's a name change and adding more people, and as far as I'm concerned, just energizing them with vision. What is the vision for the future? And I'm not saying they haven't done a great job, I'm just saying, we now have a coordinator, you are gonna bring ideas and vision, and I just see that as something that will hopefully energize that group. Go ahead.
Going back to the bathroom situation, my thought would be that, I mean, wouldn't that be something that Janelle would basically just take care of now? Since she's the department head, she'd be talking with Ruben and he'd be talking with his committee and she'd be talking to her committee rather than the case manager dealing with it. Wouldn't that be something?
I think you're already doing that, so yeah.
Well, it sounds like the case manager was doing it.
Well, it sounds like he was, I'd agree with that, but she's brought it to this committee and she will move it forward.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, Ryan was
Yeah.
talking, Ryan was speaking to them because Ryan was the only one around at that time as you were looking at vacating the 12th Street property to do those drug tests. But you're right, it'll end up in Janelle's court. The Criminal Justice Task Force has been, again, fairly loosely organized. It was done to, just basically meet the criteria, having the Criminal Justice Coordinator, coordinating committee in place. So now that we've got that, I'm sure that organization will be much better. Those meetings had tended to be organized through Cindy Jostin in the past, pulling people together. But, you do have all the players there if they show up. The judges, the district attorneys, law enforcement, jail, everybody that you would think would be involved.
Something else I think could be brought in is, I think this system has to improve. I've been to a lot of meetings where people have dropped off. I mean, we got new microphones up in Branch 3 now, the county board had it their last meeting. I'd just like to see this improve here. That be set up where you can, the only reason I guess it's set up, because that's the only connection they got is right there in that corner. But when we move to other places like up in IT, there's never any problem, but there seems to be problems in this room. And I would hope we would address that, so.
Anything else? Janelle, anything else on your end? No. All right, unless there's anything else that needs to be brought before the committee, I think one thing we need to talk about is the next meeting date. Janelle had talked to me about possibly, I don't know if this is still your wish, but maybe having a regular meeting time if we need meetings.
Yep.
So I guess working with schedules, is there a day and time that we could set a regular meeting for the next few months if we need it?
Sure. I mean, are we gonna, as far as agenda items, are those just gonna kind of come together between meetings? Or are we gonna, have them, at the meeting, discuss them, or how is that gonna happen?
I would be working with Janelle to bring agenda items that she felt needed to be brought before the committee. Those would come, they would be put on the agenda, we would discuss them. There's always going to be an agenda item for a future agenda item, so if the committee has something they want to discuss, they would be able to do that in the meeting at the very end.
So if I may bring up a suggestion
Yep.
on the meeting day. And if you don't like it, please say so. I hate to have it go and everybody say, that's it. But if they're immediately after or a certain time after the JML meeting, and that, and that's a bad time because it's Friday, and people, and if that is, there's a reason why I like Friday meetings, and I jokingly, I used to say because There's a lot of parking, plenty of parking. But one of the things is that there's all these other committees ahead of time, and I can always add to the agenda if I think the JNL should be discussing something that's going on in other meetings. And then now we do have one on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and JNL's on Friday. That takes care of kind of the 5 committees, except now we have the other one, which is the property and IT. So if that's not possible, Friday, I think, is a bad time to have a meeting, and especially in the afternoon.
When are your meetings usually in the morning? Traditional?
Yeah, yes, 9 o'clock.
Meetings for me, I hate Mondays. But Tuesday through Thursday, anytime, I'll make it work.
Brent or Mary? Is there a standard day or time that we could?
Thursday mornings are usually not real good for me.
Those are good for me though. Those are perfect for me.
And so, which is fine.
If I say that they're good for me, then if they're not good for me, would they still be perfect for you, or?
I know I probably have a different answer.
Okay. One other thought I had, Bill, it kind of goes along with yours, but it wasn't traditional legislative, is it usually county board days, everyone's around.
There you go.
So,
Got no problem with that.
one thought I had was maybe trying to schedule these after county board, or at least later in the day. Because it seems like staff are always around for county board days. So that was a thought. It'd be the 3rd Tuesday of every month. County board's at 9:30. So I don't know if we want to do immediately following, that might be a little difficult, but if we did a standard even 12 or 1 o'clock,
Yeah, that's fine with me. I agree.
I would just stay in town that day. So, does that work? Maybe 1 o'clock,
Sounds good.
3rd Tuesday? All right, we'll make that our standard meeting time, Janelle. All right, unless there's anything else, I will adjourn this meeting at 3:23. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Sheriff Becker.
Yep.
Sean, can you give me a call when you get a chance on your cell?